In the heart of the African savanna, a mother elephant turns from rage to gratitude, gently nudging Jack, the man who risked everything to save her calf from drowning. As the bull elephant bows its head in respect, the air crackles with a shockwave of the unexpected. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The sun hung high over the African savanna, casting a golden glow that danced over the vast grasslands like a painter's brush. Jack, a seasoned wildlife photographer in his mid-40s, moved with a quiet reverence that was second nature to him. His every step was measured, his breathing calm as he approached the watering hole, a natural sanctuary where life both thrived and perished. Here, amidst the backdrop of nature's resplendence, the majestic elephants gathered, creating an image of profound serenity and strength. But beneath this calm exterior, Jack harbored memories that cascaded through him with the same unrelenting force as the roaring rivers of his past. As a child, he had once been lost in the wilderness, terrified and alone, only to be unexpectedly rescued by a gentle giant of the savanna, a memory that was etched into his very soul. This defining moment had shaped his path, guiding him back to the elephants, tethering his life's work to their fates. Jack had barely begun to set up his camera, feeling the familiar thrill that accompanied the prospect of capturing these enigmatic creatures in their grandeur, when a discordant trumpet pierced the air. It was a sound that shattered the tranquil atmosphere, a cry woven with threads of urgency and fear. Every instinct within Jack told him something was wrong. Ignoring the deep-seated fear that quivered within him, fear of the water that had once tried to claim him, he sprinted toward the sound. Breaking through the thicket, Jack's eyes fell upon a heart-stopping scene. A baby elephant, no more than a few months old, was floundering in the deep pool, its desperate cries echoing across the plain. Panic surged through Jack, a visceral reminder that nature, for all its beauty, was unforgiving and cruel in its indifference to suffering. Yet, it was precisely this moment of distress that awakened a flood of determination within him. He could not, would not, stand idly by when life clung so precariously to hope. The memory of the elephant who had once saved his life burned brightly in Jack's mind, galvanizing him into action. He waded into the water, his fear clinging to him like a second skin as he fought against the instinct to turn away. Each step was fraught with peril, the water threatening to swallow him whole, yet his resolve was steadfast. As he reached the calf, time seemed to warp, bending and stretching in surreal disarray. He maneuvered with care, each motion deliberate and gentle, wrapping his arms around the struggling creature, whispering subdued reassurances into the space between survival and resignation. In this dance of desperation, Jack found his rhythm, an innate understanding, communicated through the soft murmurs and the steady beat of his heart. The baby elephant, sensing this wellspring of compassion, gradually ceased its struggle, submitting to Jack's touch as he guided it back towards the shallows. Jack could feel the calf's rapid heartbeat mirroring his own, both pulsating with the flickering pulse of life tenaciously held. As they reached solid ground, relief washed over Jack with the same intensity as the moment he had first set eyes on his own savior. The calf, exhausted but safe, stood trembling at the water's edge. Jack, drenched and weary, glanced at the horizon where the sun dipped lazily, casting long shadows of triumph and hope. He knew that this moment too would become a part of his story, a testament to the cycles of life, where every act of compassion contained the potential for extraordinary grace. Amidst the harsh, untamed beauty of the African savanna, the scene unfolding was both humbling and intensely dramatic. Jack found himself embroiled in a desperate struggle against nature's raw power as he fought the swelling currents of the watering hole. Each stroke swirled the mud, the water heavy and opaque, threatening to engulf him and the tiny, panicking form beside him. The baby elephant, with its eyes wide in fright and trunk reaching for air, fueled his determination. Jack's heart pounded, both from physical exertion and the primal fear of what might unfold if he failed in his endeavor. He knew that time was of the essence. Every moment spent wrestling with the relentless water further weakened the calf's dwindling strength. The herd, so majestically imposing, stood silent yet attentive on the water's edge. Their trunks lifted occasionally to scent the air, tusks gleaming in the erratic patches of sunlight. Their presence was immense, heavy with the threat of nature's might, but tinged with something more profound, a sort of ancient wisdom that suggested an understanding of the unfolding drama. Jack felt the weight of their eyes upon him, and while under any other circumstance, he might have felt vulnerable, here was a reminder that he was part of something much larger, something that transcended species barriers. With a final surge of effort, Jack managed to heave the baby elephant onto solid ground. The calf's legs splayed and knees dipped into the mud, its breath ragged and rapid as it collapsed with exhaustion. The relief of success was momentarily eclipsed by the immediate shift in focus from the herd. Jack quickly retreated, mindful of the danger. His heart raced, aware that even the slightest misinterpretation could provoke an aggressive response. Yet, to his astonishment, the mother elephant approached without haste or hostility. Her massive frame suggested strength and power, yet her movements were measured, graceful. As she neared Jack, she paused, lowering her trunk towards the ground before nudging him gently. This contact was nuanced, gentle, a daring dance between the wild and the human. It was less an investigation, and more an acknowledgement, a quiet recognition of his benevolent intent. The sensation of her coarse skin against his struck Jack with an unfathomable clarity. The perceived barriers between human and beast waned under this silent communion. The gesture was profound in its simplicity, yet monumental in its implications. For Jack, every detail etched itself into his mind, a story etched not in words but in moments. He felt an inexplicable bond forming, not just with this animal, but with the entire concept of interspecies empathy and understanding. The herd, witnesses to this quiet miracle, seemed to share in the consciousness of the moment, their behavior reinforcing a concept Jack had long suspected but never experienced with such immediacy. Here, in the heart of the wild, an unparalleled bond of gratitude formed, a nod to the instincts and emotions shared across the spectrum of life, leaving Jack to reflect on the deep-seated intricacies of compassion that knew no boundaries. Amid the vibrant panorama of the African savanna, the atmosphere shifted palpably as the dominant bull elephant emerged from the herd. Its massive frame moved with a deliberate grace, embodying both the power and majesty inherent to its kind. Each step of the bull was measured, its robust legs pushing through the grass with determination, leaving a silent wake of tension that rippled through the air. Jack stood rooted to the spot, every instinct screaming for him to remain motionless. His mind raced with the multitude of possibilities this encounter could ignite. The air seemed to hum with a latent electricity, accentuating the precariousness of the moment. Despite the early relief of saving the calf and witnessing the herd's apparent acceptance, the dynamics shifted under the weight of the bull's piercing gaze. The elephant's eyes were vast pools reflecting a blend of ancient wisdom and keen scrutiny. They bore into Jack, triggering a primal awareness within him. It was a delicate dance of two vastly different beings across the threshold of instinct and intent. In this theater of silence, Jack sensed a blend of curiosity and challenge emanating from the elephant, testing the boundaries of mutual understanding. Fear was a fleeting specter that flitted across Jack's nerves but did not settle. Instead, he focused on projecting calm, a silent promise etched into the lines of his relaxed stance and controlled breathing. His heart pounded a counter-rhythm to the weighty silence, a wild drum that seemed to echo in his ears but left the world otherwise serene. Then, breaking the momentary stillness, the bull lifted its trunk and trumpeted a resonant call that vibrated through the earth. Jack flinched involuntarily at the sound, a powerful note that seemed to stir the very essence of nature around them. The noise was not one of aggression, but rather an announcement, a proclamation. Jack watched, mesmerized, as the elephant slowly lowered its head in his direction, a gesture so unexpected and profound that it eclipsed the boundary between their worlds. In that bow, Jack realized, lay an acknowledgement of kindness, a bridge formed from empathy that spanned the chasm of fear and misunderstanding. The bull's act was one of gratitude, a recognition of Jack's intention to help rather than harm. Here, in the presence of such extraordinary majesty, Jack felt awe blanketing fear, turning the moment sacred. His heart swelled with a mixture of humility and wonder, as if he was privy to a narrative older than time itself. The herd, witnesses to this remarkable exchange, shifted gently, no longer just a backdrop to the drama but active participants in a tale of harmony and possibility. Jack stood within a sphere of magical reality, where human and elephant were no longer separate entities driven by instinct alone, but fellow travelers in the compelling journey of life. This astonishing connection, far beyond mere survival, held the promise of hope born anew. And it was here, in the quiet aftermath of such an incredible moment, that Jack truly understood the language unspoken, the ties that bind, in the tapestry of existence. As the elephants retreated, lumbering softly back into the golden embrace of the savannah, Jack stood rooted to the spot, his heart reverberating with the profound stirrings of awe and gratitude. The air carried a whisper of their departure, blending with the rustle of the gentle Serengeti breeze that played upon the tall grass. Jack's mind was a whirlwind, piecing together the extraordinary fabric of the morning's events, a tapestry woven with threads of courage, kindness, and an unanticipated mutual respect between man and beast. These gentle giants had offered him something far greater than he had ever imagined, an acknowledgement of his compassion, a recognition that bridged the ancient chasm between species. Jack's mind flickered back to the chaotic moment when he had plunged into the watering hole, driven by a primal instinct to save, not fathoming the consequences. Yet the moment the elephants had stayed their ground, not with aggression but with a curiosity that morphed into acceptance, he realized a profound truth, a truth that transcended the barriers of language and species. That moment had rewritten the silent understanding of the role human intention played in the natural order of life. Gazing at the departing herd, his camera, always his constant companion, bore witness to a narrative far beyond its original mission. The lens, having captured the exchange, now held evidence of an unfolding miracle. Those images, he knew, had the potential to ripple out into the wider world, touching hearts and opening minds to a narrative often overshadowed by tales of fear and misunderstanding. As Jack reviewed the photos, each frame resonated with a different chord of the symphony he had just experienced. The struggle and ultimate triumph of the calf, the tentative yet determined maternal bond reflected in the mother's eyes, and the resounding moment when the bull elephant had acknowledged him not as a threat, but as an ally. The pictures were imbued with an emotive power that words struggled to encapsulate, a story of unexpected camaraderie that defied the traditional predator-prey paradigm. Back in his temporary camp, beneath the rising arch of the sun, Jack penned down his reflections, his heart a vessel overflowing with purpose. He contemplated how these images would journey far and wide, into homes and minds, challenging long-held suspicions and advocating for a harmonious coexistence. In the days following, the viral spread of his encounter ignited conversations not just about conservation, but about empathy and understanding, illustrating the transformative potential lying dormant within humanity's interaction with nature. Jack realized he was part of something far greater than himself, a movement, stirring quietly but with relentless force, championing the virtues of compassion, collaboration, and respect. In this enlightenment, Jack found renewed purpose, and as the savannah settled into its dusk chorus, he understood that the world was watching, learning, and, most importantly, believing. The elephants had returned to their realm, but they had left behind a legacy, a testament of hope captured in frames that would resonate through time, echoing the possibility of a kinder world.